Did Nintendo kill off Link to create the hero is defeated timeline? And if that possibility is entertained, then why doesn't every game have a branching if Link dies timeline? My name is Nook. Allow me to explain. The Hyrule Historia. This long-awaited gathering of behind-the-scenes trivia and in-game canon information was a highly anticipated publication, finally released in 2011 by Nintendo as part of the 25th anniversary of The Legend of Zelda. The Hyrule Historia was a celebration of not only a leading game title for Nintendo, but also offered first-time looks at concept art, production notes, and even covered interesting anecdotes about how A Link to the Past was originally a sci-fi style Zelda game. But amongst the nerd joy that came from the Geekpedia finally bestowed upon the Zelda fanbase came a fuming backlash stoked by one single page: Nintendo's official Legend of Zelda timeline. What's so wrong with the timeline? Well, a few games are out of place, like how Four Swords Adventures is supposed to be a direct sequel to Four Swords, which comes before Ocarina of Time, but couldn't because Ganondorf is a villain in that game, but he wasn't born until Ocarina, so it ended up way down the timeline, but that isn't even what had Zelda timeline theorists in an uproar. The biggest problem lies in the timeline split that happens after Ocarina of Time. You can learn more about the split and why it happened in the last Zelda Explained video where I glossed over the controversial Heroes Defeated timeline. But it's time to dig into that bag of cats. Or let the cat out of the bag? Wow. I accidentally set myself up for a joke over a month ago. I'm a genius! You see, Zelda timelines were being created by fans long before the official one was released. In fact, it's believed that fans creating timelines of their own is what spurred Nintendo to create an official one. In multiple interviews with Shigeru Miyamoto, Eiji Aonuma, and Nintendo of America, prior to the release of the official Zelda timeline, statements were made making it clear that gameplay always comes before story and that each game was supposed to be its own separate legend. But die-hard fans of the series were able to cobble together a cohesive order based on a few elements that exist throughout the games, and their status at the end and beginning of each game. Like, is Ganon human or a pig? Is he locked away or free? And is the Triforce in one piece or separated? These elements led to the games being put together where their similarities matched up, like dominoes. So, by placing similar elements back to back, fans were able to build their own interpretations of when the events of the Legend of Zelda series take place, creating timelines where all the games take place in one straight line, or as crazy as this. But more popularly, fan timelines would resemble this. From Ocarina of Time, adult and child timelines would split off in separate directions with their own subsequent games. The split in the timeline is inspired by the story and mechanics of Ocarina of Time. Link goes back and forth between his adult and child eras in order to defeat Ganondorf and undo all the terribleness that Zelda caused. So, in-game, we are left with two separate timelines that are clearly defined: the adult and child timelines. So, when Nintendo dropped their official timeline, with the third split in the timeline, you can understand where all the hubbub came about. Suddenly, the Hero is Defeated timeline appeared. Now, what the Hero is Defeated meant to those loyal Zelda fans was that in Ocarina of Time, Link dies at the hands of Ganon and loses in the final battle. It meant that every single game now has a branching timeline playing out the story of what happens when Link fails and evil prevails. Any game could exist anywhere. The dominoes now needed a third side representing if Link was alive or dead. These loyal fans suddenly felt like Papa Nintendo came in and did the, "Oh, let's play 52 pickup" game. I hate that game. So who is right? Are the fans correct in eliminating the chance for timelines where Link is dead? Or is Nintendo correct in playing out the possibility of Link failing? In ways, both of them are correct. But in order to fully understand the Hero is Defeated timeline, we need to know how splits in the Zelda timeline are created, and better define the timeline in question. First off, as we covered in the Zelda Evil Explained video, timelines in the Legend of Zelda universe follow Link, the hero of time, who seems to transcend common preconceptions about how timelines and alternate universes work. At the end of Ocarina of Time, Zelda sends Link back to regain his lost childhood, and in doing so removes him from the timeline in which he was an adult altogether, creating a new timeline where Link is now a child. One would think in the new timeline that there would now be two Links, but instead only one exists, even though there is a Zelda, Ganondorf, and Hyrule waiting for him to arrive. This is teetering on the edge of diving into mind-blowing multiverse theories, so I'll put this in the bag of cats for another time category. Bye bye now, have a nice flight. Suffice it to say that timeline splits aren't merely what-if scenarios. The hero is defeated timeline appears once. It is specific to Link, the hero of time story. So, if the hero is defeated timeline isn't a what-if Ganon 1 hypothetical path, and Link needs to have gone back in time in order for timeline splits to occur, then how did this highly debated timeline come to be? The Hyrule Historia defines the hero is defeated timeline like this. Of all possible outcomes, Link, the hero of time, faced defeat at the hands of Ganondorf. The hero of time, Link, challenged him, Ganondorf, in a battle that would determine Hyrule's very existence, and lost. This sounds pretty cut and dry, right? Link went up against Ganondorf and was defeated, but note that there is no mention of Link dying. It merely says that Link was defeated in a battle in which he challenged Ganondorf. Now, of course, the easiest explanation is a hand-to-hand battle with swords and laser ball tennis matches, but really, the battle was Link's expedition against Ganondorf as a whole. Ganondorf sealed Hyrule's protectors, the sages, in temples throughout the world, and Link set out to rescue them in order to defeat the new evil king. In each temple, Link was bestowed with tools and weapons that furthered his crusade against Ganondorf. Realizing this, Ganondorf was determined to put a stop to Link's conquest, and also an age-old Zelda trope of always using what new item you find in the temple to overcome the obstacles and defeat the boss. Being a Gerudo, Ganondorf was intimately familiar with the Spirit Temple residing in his desert home and the powerful silver gauntlets that lay inside, which would bestow tremendous strength upon any who wielded them. There, he made his stand against the hero of time by sealing the temple with an immovable block. Well, immovable without the silver gauntlets, which Ganondorf left locked away inside along with the Sage of Spirit. When Link arrived, he lacked the strength to move the tremendous block and was unable to enter the temple to rescue the sage inside. Without the sage, Link wouldn't be able to defeat Ganondorf. Link was defeated. In order to save the sage trapped inside, Link would have to return to his child era in order to obtain the silver gauntlets before Ganondorf had sealed them away. Link leaving left this timeline to continue on without a hero, where it became ravaged by the imprisoning wars leading to A Link to the Past. This timeline Link left behind is the hero is defeated timeline of the Hyrule Historia. Link didn't die, but was defeated in his battle against Ganondorf. But in-game, after retrieving the silver gauntlets as a child, you just return to the temples as an adult and continue on, right? This is true, but the Spirit Temple you return to isn't the same one you left behind. It's the temple in the future of the new timeline, created by Link returning to the past. When Link returns to his adult self, he's locked away in the Sacred Realm for 7 years in the same timeline, just as we see play out the first time he pulls the Master Sword. In subsequent times when you pull the blade, we just experience the time shift as Link does. In the blink of an eye, 7 years pass. Link never actually returns to a future he has already seen, but always a different one that has been affected by his actions in the newly created past. But when I played, I went back in time countless times in the game. Of course you did! We all did! It was fun and exciting and seemed like we had control over time itself, but going back in time is only necessary once, to retrieve the Silver Gauntlets, in order to save the Sage of Spirit. And so, there in the Gerudo Desert, Ganondorf had his victory over the hero of time. You might even say that the hero was defeated. Although, Ganondorf had just equipped Link for victory in another time altogether. Remember, it's dangerous to go alone, so subscribe for future updates, and make sure to check out my first explained video about Batman Arkham Knight. If you liked the video or want to see other topics or games explained, let me know down below. I would love to talk to you. Until next time, remember, there is no obstacle too big to overcome with a heart full of courage. My name is Nook, and this has been the Hero is Defeated Timeline Explained.